Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the distance and the midpoint between complex numbers. Okay, and if you think about this, so if I were to graph these guys on a coordinate grid, so look, oh, my fancy coordinate grid, it's very large. My first number is -6 minus 2i, so -6 minus 2i, and then my other complex number is 2 minus 3i, so 2 minus 3i. So these are my two complex numbers graphed, and I'm trying to figure out the distance between these two ordered pairs. Okay, so in order to figure out their distance, I need to figure out the length of this line. The great thing about having a grid line is we could connect this line using vertical and horizontal lines and then solve. So now we've got ourselves a cute little right triangle, which is how we've solved distance in the past. Now, we always figure out our side lengths. When we have boxes, they're super easy. We can just count. We've got 1 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here. So that'd be super easy to throw into Pythagorean theorem. Okay, but let's say we didn't have a picture. Well, we would need to know our ordered pairs. So for example, this guy is at -6, -1. This guy over here is at 2, -3. And then this guy, is at -6, 1, 2, -3. Now the reason that guy is important is in order to figure out the vertical distance, we have to subtract. And we subtract our vertical numbers, which are the -1 and -3, the y's. So to go from -1 to -3, well, that's a distance. Oh, I'm just kidding. This is -2. Then that's a distance of 1, so that's how we get the 1 here. And then the same way going this way, to go from -6 to 2, that's a distance of 8. So in order to figure out distance, we have to use subtraction, but again, we don't have a picture. So this is what you do. You subtract your reals and you subtract your imaginaries. In order to remember that I'm subtracting my reals and I'm subtracting my imaginaries, I'm going to put them next to each other with a subtraction sign in between. Then I need to distribute this negative. So I really have -6 minus 2i minus 2 and add 3i. This will help me figure out the difference between my two reals and my two imaginaries. So if I'm looking at my real numbers, I have 6 and -2, and -6 minus 2 is -8. And then I have -2i plus 3i, and that is a positive I, or 1i. And if you notice, those are the two numbers that we got on our Pythagorean theorem. It doesn't matter that one is negative and one is positive, because when we figure out the distance or we find the hypotenuse, then that negative is going to go away. So in order to figure out the distance, we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So we have our two sides, because that's what happened when we graph. We have two side lengths of our complex numbers, the distance between them. So we're going to do the square root of -8 squared and 1 squared. And the square root of -8 squared and 1 squared is root of 65, which reduces to 8.1. So the distance between these two complex numbers graphed on a coordinate system is 8.1. Well, now we have to find the midpoint. So we're finding the halfway point between these two complex numbers, so halfway like here-ish. In order to figure out here-ish without having a grid, we need to get the average of these guys. So that's how you find midpoint of this. So we're going to add up the reals, -6 and 2, and then cut them in half. We're going to do the same thing with the complex, -2 and -3, and then again cut them in half, but they have an I. And this will be our distance to our midpoint. So we can just type this in the calculator if you want to. -6 plus 2 over 2 is -2. And -2 plus -3 is -5 divided by 2 is -2.5 I. If we go back to our picture, that makes perfect sense. That our in between, our midpoint between these two complex numbers is -2 and -2.5, because that's what I had thought when I graphed it the first time. So that's how you find the distance and midpoint between the two complex numbers. I'll do that one more time. So on our B, we have to subtract this So basically we distribute that negative. So we have, 8 minus 2i minus 1 minus 4i. We've got 7 minus 6i. We put that into Pythagorean theorem. And this is a shortened, quick version because we don't need to do all of the steps since you guys are proficient at Pythagorean theorem. And we get 9.2. So our distance is 9.2. And then we have to do the midpoint. So that will be 8 and 1 divided by 2, and negative 2 and 4 divided by 2. So we've got 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. And then that's 2 divided by 2 is 1i. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. Have a great day. Bye.